And I'm gonna.
Good evening. Welcome to EmpowerU. Jay, you know why I'm getting that? Okay. That kind of does something to your hearing, doesn't it? I'm Betty Overstreet. I'm the executive director, and I want to welcome all of you here to the studio tonight, and also welcome to those of you who are online this evening. How's it feel to be back in the studio? I agree with you. I was at an event a few weeks ago, and a gentleman that comes to a lot of our classes came up and asked me for one of my business cards. He wanted to give it to somebody, and so I whipped it out and gave it to him. And the first thing he said to me, "Oh, you've changed your name." He didn't mean me. He meant EmpowerU. You've changed your name. I was shocked that he noticed that on my little business card that it said EmpowerU America and not EmpowerU Ohio. So if you haven't caught on to that, we are EmpowerU America now. And the reason for that is because, you know, when EmpowerU started, we were just local. And then it kind of got out a little bit in the state, not a lot. But now we're all over the state and we're outside of the state. So we changed our name to EmpowerU America. So I don't know if you noticed it or not, but I just wanted to tell you that. We're growing. The other thing I don't know if you've noticed, well, you probably wouldn't notice, but we've had some studio upgrades. You can see we have some panels up on the wall, and that's to help with the sound and the high ceiling. We've got 3 new cameras. We've got a new audio system. So our experience for our online people should be very much improved. It should be more like when you're tuning into a Zoom class. So for those of you online, let us know how the experience is for you. We're real excited about it. Also, EmpowerU is we do advertise that we're a free university, but we do have expenses, so we accept donations. If you would like to give something, there's several ways you can do that. When you register online, there is a donate button on there. You can also go to our website, empoweruamerica.org, and there's a donate button on there. And for those of you that don't really like to do that kind of thing online, you can send it to our physical address, which you can find on the website. And we're going to change up a little bit. We always the other way is our little red buckets that we pass around here in the studio. We've always done that towards the end of the class. We're going to switch that up now. We're going to be bringing the buckets around early, like now. And that way it's going to prevent us interrupting the speaker and taking your attention off of it. So I think that's going to be an improvement as well. Tonight, if there's any questions that you have anytime during the evening, if you would please raise your hand and wait for one of us to bring a microphone to you, because if you don't have a microphone, the people online can't hear you. And for those of you online, if you have a question, just go down to the bottom to the Q&A button and put your question in there and we will read it for you. Next thing I want to do is go over some of our classes that are coming up. Next Tuesday, by the way, next Tuesday is not going to be in the studio. It's going to be a Zoom class. So I hope those of you that come to the studio can get on the Zoom class. It's going to be stopping government mandates. And I don't know how many of you here know Representative Jennifer Gross, but yeah, I agree. She authored the bill HB 248, which is for vaccine mandates, mask mandates, passports, against that. She's not against the vaccine. She's just against you not having a choice. So I don't know if you have read her bill. I know she's had problems getting it through. But anyway, she's going to be on the class that night, and she'll be talking about that as well as other things. And then also that same evening, a woman by the name of Ruth Edmonds. I haven't not met her myself, but I've heard some really good things about her. So I know some of you here evidently have met her. For those of you that haven't, she is a Christian conservative leader and a public policy activist. Recently, she ran and finished strong in a special primary election for the open Ohio 15 congressional district seat, placing in the top 5 of an 11-way race and second in the largest county of the district, beating out 2 state senators, a state rep, and a self-funded businessman. She was also on Tucker Carlson's show. So it sounds to me like, even though she did not win that, she's going to be around. And I've heard that she's a real dynamite of a person. So I'm anxious to hear her. Then on Thursday night, we are going to have Rachel Sytak. She's a local attorney, and she's going to be talking about the systemic woke suburban thuggery and what to do about it. And that all has to do, she says, white suburban middle-class liberals are the face of today's political intimidation tactics. Political intimidation is the new tool for shutting down public discourse. How many are being silenced and victimized by these covert attacks or covert tactics? And how can you keep from being canceled? So I'm interested to hear what she has to say, because I know obviously it doesn't happen to me. I'm not important enough to be shut down, but there are a lot of people that are getting shut down. So those are the 2 classes that we have coming up next week. The other class I want to mention is the October 12th class on the active killer. And that is Bob, and I'm going to destroy his last name. I know it's Bob Kudajar, or I'm going to say Bob C. is going to do the active killer class. That class will not be posted to our website. So if you are interested in that topic, you need to be in the studio or be online, or you will miss it. That's the only class that will not be posted the next day. And for those of you that may be new and don't know, all of our classes are posted by 4 o'clock the next day to our website, there to watch at a later date. I'm not going to really give you a bio on Dan tonight, because he's going to talk about himself. He's going to kind of let you know what he's done over the years in his talk tonight. What I do want to say about Dan, when EmpowerU first started, they went all over the city. I wasn't involved with them. I became a student, and I went all over the city to different classes. And I have to tell you, I've been involved with EmpowerU for the last 4 or 5 years, and it can be quite a lot of work. So I can't imagine how they pulled that off, getting places to have it. So kudos to Dan and that early team that really put a lot in it for EmpowerU to get where it is today. But Dan, I think it was 2015, developed the studio here in the warehouse for us. And recently he's put in the cameras and new lighting and the sound and everything. So I think that speaks a lot to the dedication of how he feels about getting the message out to people and educating. So Dan, I want to thank you for that. And next we are going to have our giveaway. So get out your tickets.
Testing. Okay. My mic's not working. Okay. Gosh, hello everyone. It's good to see you. Okay, so we're going to give away something from Frame USA. It's a product that somebody in the audience created. That young lady right back there named Leanne. Would you raise your hand, Leanne? Let's give her a round of applause. She created these painted barnwood frames made in America. So you're drawing for a chance to win 2 painted barnwood frames. So let's go ahead and pick a number. The number is, how about 542? 542, come on up. Let's give Mel a round of applause. He's making me deliver them to him. There you go, sir. And then and everybody online, and I know we have a big crowd online tonight. Welcome, we're glad to have you. We're going to give away a book, and I'm going to talk a little bit about tonight. I don't know if has anybody ever read the book, The 5,000-Year Leap? It's a fantastic book on the principles of freedom. So anybody online who wants a chance to win the book, just put your email address down in the bottom where it says Q&A, and you will be registered to win. And then last but not least, for the people in the studio, we have our important Pepsi, Diet Pepsi, 12 packs. We only drink Pepsi and Diet Pepsi here. And the number for that is 455. Who is the big winner? 455. So you share us? 455. Anybody got that number? Okay, Ken, come on up. Ken Bowman. Let's give him a round of applause. This is a big gift. What's it going to be? Diet or regular? Regular. You go.
Thank you, Dan. Okay.
Thank you. Congratulations. So let me see if I can get my mic working. Jay, is my mic turned on? Testing. Number 2. Testing. So I had a chance to travel around the state quite a bit this summer. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about that today, what I found. And wherever I went, people told me about this kid, this young man that was opening up around Ohio for Josh Mandel, and I just became super curious about him. And a friend of mine was able to find me some contact information for him. And I just wanted to hear what he had to say, what it was like to be a kid and to be going through all this crap at school, this racist crap and this critical race theory and this just what kids are going through now. So I asked him to come tonight and just share with us what it's like to be a 13-year-old. And so everybody, let's give a good round of applause to Hawk Busby. Hawk, come on up. We're glad to have you here, man.
Thank you.
Oh, hold on. I've got some official music that I promised I would play. So let's just give this a hit for just a minute while he prepares himself. Is this the official music? All right. Welcome.
Hello, how's everybody doing tonight? Thank you for having me here. And the reason I'm here, I believe kids' voices matter. And the decisions that you adults make are going to affect my generation tomorrow. And no matter how old or young you are, you can change the world.
Hey, Hawk, let's switch microphones.
Okay.
Sorry, that's not, it doesn't seem to be working. That's, Jay, could you turn on number 3, please? Number 3, please. Testing. Testing.
Thank you. And how do I know that no matter how old or young you are, you can make a change in the world? And how do I know that? Is because when I was 10 years old, I first used my voice to make a difference. My mom had taken me to see a movie called Unplanned. It is about a woman named Abby Johnson who worked as a director of an abortion clinic, what ended up in becoming pro-life. When the movie was first over, I was very upset and scared. I was crying. And I asked my mom, why isn't anybody doing anything about this? And she told me that we are the heartbeat bill. For those of you who don't know what the heartbeat bill is, it makes it illegal to abort a baby once the heartbeat is detected. My mom had been helping on the bill for 9 years. She told me that we were trying to pass the bill in Ohio and asked me if I wanted to speak before the Senate about the heartbeat bill. At first I was nervous, and I decided that this issue is more important enough for me to speak, even though I was scared and that I didn't want to speak in front of these people. So I went up with my mom to the Senate. I told them that I believe these kids, these children, that they deserve a chance to live their lives. And after 9 long years of the bill not passing, 2 months later it passed. Now, I'm not saying it's because of me, but you never know. but it taught me the power of our voices. Martin Luther King Jr. said, "Our lives begin to end the day we become silent about what the things that matter." MLK was a great leader, not because he played basketball or made a ton of money, but because he was willing to stand up and speak against out of the evil of the racism and segregation. Even when it's not easy, even when others stay silent, even when threats came against his family in his own life. And eventually he paid the ultimate sacrifice of his life. Jesus Christ said, "Greater love has no one than this, that he down his life for his friends." The greatest love we can give is to sacrifice for others. When we die, no one will talk about the car we drove or the house we live in or how much money we made. They will talk about what we did for others. And so my question is today is, what are you doing for others? What are you willing to sacrifice in life to make this world a better place for kids like me? And Martin Luther King Jr. said, "I have a dream that one day little black kids and little black girls will be able to join hands with little white boys and little white girls as sisters and brothers." And he also said, "I have a dream that my 4 children will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the continent of their character." And critical race theory is doing the exact opposite of that. And what MLK fought for is giving his life. What MLK fought and gave his life for, CRT spitting in the face of him and the great civil rights leaders and all those who fought alongside him. This is not the dream he would have imagined. And he said he did not want his kids to be judged by the color of their skin. However, CRT is teaching us kids to judge everything and everyone by the color of their skin. This is wrong, and I really do not like it at all, because us kids see the world, but we don't see the world like that. They are creating hate and division where there isn't any. My father is black and my mother is white, and I love them both. When you put black and whites against one another, which one am I supposed to side with? Do I side with the blacks or do I side with the whites? Am I supposed to hate one side of me and love the other? How does that work? Are you telling me that I cannot accomplish my dreams because of what color I am? uh, and I believe that if your father were to kill somebody, should you go to prison for that crime? No, because no man or no woman should ever be punished for another man's crime. But CRT wants us to make people feel guilty for something they never did. Don't you see how stupid all of this is? The color of our skin does not make us who we are, and we treat people and live our lives that is how, sorry. And the color of our skin does not make us who we are. However, the treating people and living our lives does. Do you want to know how much us kids do not focus on the color of our skin? When I was 6 years old, my older brother was about 9. I was trying to explain to my mom what my friends at school looked like. I told her that he had dark hair and brown skin, kind of like me. My mom kindly said, "Oh, he's probably mixed like you. And one of his parents are probably white and the other one is black like your dad." When my mom said this, my brother got a really confused look on his face and was like, "You mean our dad is black?" And just so you know, yes, we all know who our dad was, but this, but that just goes to show that us kids do not think of race, and there's no race in our house, but he's just our dad. Beneath all under all our skin, we all bleed red, and we all hurt, and we all have fears, and we all want to be able to accomplish something in life, and we all want to live in a nice neighborhood, and we all are more than the same than we are different. And I believe I can accomplish whatever I want to. And one day I believe I want to be in the NBA. And one of my heroes is Michael Jordan. And obviously his skin color did not stop him from getting 10 championships. And obviously, but what CRT is doing is they want us to make us feel like blacks, if you're black, you cannot succeed. And that is a lie, because I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And so can you. Even if you've never gotten involved in public policy, you can do something. Maybe you're scared to speak in public. Maybe you're worried about others will think, or maybe you're scared upon the issue that you're saying. Well, you know what? It's okay to be scared, because history has shown that there were a lot of people who were scared but went anyways. MLK was scared when they threw a bomb in his house. But that's the definition of courage, is being scared and doing it anyways. I don't know about you, but I want to be remembered for doing something great in life. I want to be a hero like MLK. I want my life to matter, and I don't want to live in America where it's full of hatred and division. I have friends of all shades, Black, white, Indian, Asian, and Hispanic, and we all have fun together because we are focused on what we have in common, and not stupid stuff like the color of our skin. So I'm here to ask you today I ask you today to please stand with me and fight for kids like me, who don't want to pick sides between their mom and dad, who don't want to look at their friends as, oh, he's black, or oh, he's white, or oh, he's Mexican. But instead, this is my friend, my good friend Jamara, and this is my good friend Alex, or this is my good friend Joe's. And because this is MLK, this is what MLK died for us Americans to stand together and hold hands as one. We will always be better together than we are apart. United we stand, and divided we fall. And we all need to stand together, no matter if we're Black, white, Hispanic, Asian, or Indian. America is better when we all come together as one. God bless United States of America. Thank you for listening to me.
Thank you so much. Anybody have a question or two for this young man that they might want to ask? Anybody have a question right over here?
What school do you go to?
I go to Ohio Christian Academy. What? Like look? Oh, local. It's in Middletown.
Any other questions? What a courageous speech. And that ends tonight's program. Thank you all for coming. I mean, what else is there to say? He's incredible. What's so hard for me, Hawk, to understand is why is it so hard for people just to get what you said?
Because what CRT is doing is trying to divide us all, and they want to make confusion in kids' heads, and it's terrible.
Let's thank Hawk for joining us tonight. And if I could, I'd love to put part of your speech online for people to read. I think it's that important. And thank you so much for joining us at EmpowerU. Great. Music, I think. That'll be my new official music, I think. So listen, it's so good to see you all tonight. And I've missed you over the, 4 months or so that we've been gone. So I guess this is the point in time where I kind of, I tell you what I did on my summer vacation. I had a good one. You know, I had a chance to travel around the state this summer and visit a lot of people, talk to them about critical race theory. And to be honest with you, I just haven't had a chance to go to Northern Ohio much at all. I went to places I'd never gone to. I went to places like Medina, like Bucyrus, like the incredible, beautiful city of Delaware. I had a chance to go to Avon. I don't know if it's called Avon or Avon Lake. I can't quite figure that out. But the thing that just impressed me so much about Ohio was how beautiful it was up north and how the people were so grounded, grounded in the kinds of things that Hawk talked about tonight. And I think they may have it together up there as at least as good as, well, not quite as good as this group, but pretty doggone good. So I had a great time visiting the state of Ohio. I'd recommend if you ever get a chance to drive up north. It's been fun. So other things that happened to me this summer, my wife for our anniversary brought me the biggest smoker in history. Now this is something that you can, when you're not smoking, you can put a key in it, you can drive it, okay? So I showed this to Betty before we started tonight, and I said, Betty, this thing is so big, what we're gonna have to do is start making barbecue and brisket at all the EmpowerU sessions. So you guys are on. You online people, you lose, you snooze, you lose. So be ready, and I promise you we will do that. My first effort with it, I've got this friend, this neighbor of mine in Glendale that is coaching me through this process, and it's gonna be fun. We made the big change. We changed our name to EmpowerU America because so many people from outside of Ohio have started to attend our classes, which has been really fun. We owe thanks to a lot of great people like Dr. Frank and other people that have helped broaden our name. And we did one great class, a summer school class called Running for School Board in Ohio. Are there any school board people that are in the audience tonight that are running? Where are you running from? For? Yeah, running from. Where are you running? What school board?
I'm with Hamilton County Educational Service Center.
And your name is?
Melody?
What, now, are you on the Educational Service Center already?
Yes.
Okay. So I may say some things that you might be unhappy about. If I do, please bear with me. I'll do the best I can about the Educational Service Center. But this was a great class. We had 104 potential school board candidates. I think they're courageous people. I could never do it. And it says 97 up there, but it was a great class too. Tuesday, we hit the Capitol. We had a protest about critical race theory. It was pouring down rain. If you remember what it was like the beginning part of the week, it was terrible. We had about 150 people in the morning, and about 75 of them were just out in the rain, just getting absolutely soaked. And we were we took the whole street in front of the school board. We had fun. We had some incredible speakers. Some I'm gonna try to bring in. And Josh Mandel was there. And this guy in the red jacket is from Nigeria. His name is Isaac. He's got an incredible story to tell. I don't know, Hawk, if you've ever met Isaac at Lakota. I know Sheris knows him. We heard from Jennifer Gross, who will be here Tuesday night. So she won't be here. It's virtual. Don't try to come here Tuesday night because you won't get in. I want to tell you why the Tuesday night class is so important, okay? When this whole COVID thing hit, what I talked to EmpowerU about that whole semester, I couldn't understand for the life of me why the legislature didn't take action and act as a check against our governor. It boggled my mind that it didn't happen. I got out the Constitution, I read it. The legislature clearly had authority. Well, I think what Jennifer Gross is going to tell us, I hate to put words in anybody's mouth, is how deep the swamp is in Columbus. How you can barely move, and if you try to move, what happens to you? And it's a story that you should hear, because it sounds to me like there's 3 men in Columbus that sit in maybe not a smoke-filled room, and they just decide everything that goes on, and if you don't fit in their little plan, then you are just set out to the side of the road. That's Tuesday night. So had my first interaction. Let me see if I can go back here. I had my first interaction with a protest. We were greeted by 2 people in the morning. My two big bouncers were Sheriff and Bill Roll back there. Thank goodness for them. And I got to tell you, I was so proud of my team, how they stopped them. And the Horwitzes there, they put up their fists and their muscles. I was so proud of how our team did. I really, really was, because we came up with a novel way to stop them. Their idea was to take a megaphone and just make noise in it. They had like a noisemaker, and go right up to our speaker, which was broadcasting the speakers. We had 13 incredible speakers. And so they took this loud noise and put it right up there so nobody could hear it. So what our team did was they took signs, their signs, we all had signs, and they put them, walked right up to the megaphone and put the signs right over the megaphone, and they could stop the noise from coming out. And then the other thing that they did, which was really creative, they formed kind of a wall of people kind of around the speakers, so that they couldn't get to the speakers. There was one little run-in that I wasn't proud of. I didn't really know the people, and so I can't really say what happened. But the thing that reinforced to me as this was happening, and I don't know if we'll have time to I'd love to get Bill and Sheriff's and the Horwitz's opinion, was how these people always say, you know, you don't listen, you don't listen, you don't listen, you don't listen, you don't listen. But yet they come and they don't even bother to listen to anything that you say. And it's just, it seems to me to be off track. So there were 13 speakers. They were incredible. One speaker just wowed the heck out of me. Her name is Ruth Edmonds. She'll be also speaking Tuesday night before Jennifer Gross. She describes herself as a ghetto girl to God's ambassador. She's a self-professed modern-day government mountain prophet with the loyalty of Ruth, the anointing of Deborah, and the call like Esther for such a time. Shares how her faith journey shaped her approach to being a candidate for U.S. Congress. I can't wait to talk to her. She's got so many layers of things that she's involved in. She's just quite a person. She is awesome. Yeah. Thank you. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm Dan. I'm Dan Reginald. I want to just tell you a little bit about myself. I live in this historic house, Glendale, 140 years old. I've been married to my wife, Becky, for 40 years. I was traveling a lot this summer, as I told you. I came home to our 140-year-old house to a swarm of 2,000 bees, which was harrowing because I'm scared. I'm a scaredy cat. So I made my wife go. I said, you got to go out. And no, it took three sets of beekeepers to get the bees out. It took like the beginning beekeeper, the medium beekeeper, and the super beekeeper before we got them removed, but we did get them removed. I started this company 38 years ago. I love making things. Manufacturing is super hard right now. You've got supply chain problems, all sorts of issues, but I love it. And I'm lucky. I'm a part of the American dream. I'm a lucky guy. One of my overriding goals is to let other people be part of the American dream, but at times it seems like it's fleeting. It really does. It seems like it's fleeting. So tonight, what I'm going to talk to you about is, I'm going to talk to you about 5 things, okay? I'm going to talk to you about activism a little bit. I'm going to talk to you about winning a little bit. I'm going to blend in a little history because I think the history is super important. I'm going to talk about critical race theory. I'm going to bring you up to date exactly where things are in the state of Ohio, what's going on. And I was up speaking in Bucyrus one Saturday morning. I had to get up about 5 o'clock in the morning to get up there. And this gentleman spoke, and he was so wise. And he said, will you conservatives or right-leaning people or whatever you want to call yourselves, you know, the one thing you never do, you always talk about the facts, but you never talk about the victims. And you know what? This class is about the victims. And I think that's what Hawk talked about too, because the victims are the children here and they're being played. And we need to, thank you. And we need to continually focus on, you know, what's going on with the kids. So let's see here. So I wanted to tell you about a few of the things I've been involved in because I want to try to set you up for this thing that we're in and kind of give you a little context, whether we can win or not. So The first time I ever did anything like this was in Evendale. I lived there 17 years. I started my business there. It was a great place to raise a family. Woke up one day, 2003. I had a building on Reading Road. You all know where Reading Road is probably, right? And I woke up and I found out that 142 out of 143 properties on Reading Road had been blighted by the village of Evendale, and my property was one of them. Had no advance notice, didn't know anything about it. The only building that was not blighted was, gosh, surprise, the Village of Evendale Community Center. That was the only building that wasn't part of the blight. So I met this crazy guy, yeah. Blighted means you're a risk to the community. It's inherently dangerous. I want to also acknowledge Jenny Dennis. I'm so glad she's here. She owns the most incredible bakery in the world, the Bluebird Bakery. And if you haven't been to the Bluebird Bakery in Glendale, you got to get there. It's good stuff. I should have brought some stuff over from there tonight. So anyway, so I met this guy down the street, kind of even a little bit more out there than me. And his name is Bruce. And for 543 days, we tried to get the businesses in the area to stop this because it made us look bad. And so we came up with this crazy idea. Sometimes you have to come up with crazy ideas. And this was a crazy idea. I don't know, I'm kind of going too fast, I guess. I'll slow down. He came up with this huge sign he made that he put right at the entrance of Evendale that said, "Notice, you have entered a blighted area. The Village of Evendale has determined that Reading Road is a menace to public health, safety, morals, or welfare." And that's the exact definition of what blight is, a menace. There was a young mayor, and you know how politicians sometimes get these grandiose ideas. He wanted to take 2 properties over that he didn't like. And so he succumbed to all 143 of us, 42 of us. So every single person for 543 days that entered the Village of Evendale on Reading Road got to drive by the sign as they entered saying that they were entering a blighted area. And it was so fun because they sent the police out. They sent the zoning people out. They sent everybody out, but you know what? They could never get him to take it down. And it was one of the things that allowed us in the end to win. And we took this and dressed it up and sent it out as a Christmas card, which was a fun year. I then got involved in a little issue in Hamilton County. It was a sales tax issue where we found out, does anybody remember a guy by the name of Simon Lease? He was going to build jails that were going to cost about 3 times what other jails were costing in the area. And a bunch of us decided we didn't want our sales tax increase, and we tried to stop it. We had to collect 55,000 signatures in 45 days. My friend, Mr. Janis back there, was a big part of collecting those signatures. And it was tough. We created a group called We Demand a Vote. After 2 weeks, we had 1,500 signatures, and it was sure we were going to lose. Somehow I got drafted to get involved, and we got the signatures, the 55,000 signatures. And what I learned from that is that if you have a good issue, what happens is people help you. And it's amazing how they step up. All sorts of people around Hamilton County, like Mr. Janis and other people, got involved, and they all went out and got signatures, which is super hard. And the voters won. We won. And it was great. From there, we went on and we took on red light cameras, the terrible red light cameras, which are nothing but a money grab for governments. We did the same thing. We collected signatures and won. Red light cameras, more than anything, are just a terrible, terrible idea because they don't do anything other than take your money. From there, a group of us decided we wanted to end Ohio's estate tax, which was the worst estate tax in the United States. And this is one of those cases. We collected 84,000 signatures, and we thought for sure that we had lost. John Kasich got elected. Nothing happened. And then one day, just out of the clear blue, he called and said, "I'm going to get rid of the tax." He signed the bill, and it ended. And no people have to pay estate tax on their estates in the state of Ohio, which is a great thing because nobody, when they've already paid tax, should have to pay, right? Nobody should get taxed for dying. It's a terrible, terrible thing. So this was a case where sometimes you get lucky, and luck matters a whole heck of a lot sometimes. A couple other things I was involved in was the Union Terminal and Music Hall $330 million tax increase. And this is just one more kind of story I think that's fun I want to share with you, and as we kind of move on, and about what can happen. I hope my friend Nita Thomas is listening tonight, because she was involved in this. And I know I heard Diane Raby was with this too, but this was a crazy story where they came out one day and said, we're going to raise $330 million, give it to Music Hall and the Union Terminal, and you all are going to have your taxes raised, too bad. And it's over, it's a done deal. You know how they do, sometimes. And so the entire arts community in Cincinnati and Hamilton County got behind this. The ballerinas came out, the orchestra came out, the symphony came out, and the guy who runs all these groups said, I'm going to charter a bus. I'm going to take you up to Sharonville Convention Center, where I'm going to feed you all a great dinner on the way up. You all come up and protest in front of the commissioners. That night, 600 people that were in the arts, in the ballet, the symphony, the orchestra, got on buses, went up to Hamilton County to the Sharonville Convention Center right across the street from Third Eye Brewing, which is where we're going to have our last event. And I remember pulling my car in that night. There were 10 of us that were against it. Reason I was against it mostly was because Music Hall, very few people go there every year, just a couple 100,000. Mostly they're the same people and they're all rich people. Why did the rich people need the taxpayers to pay for the increase? So there were 10 of us that night that got up, and the 600 people who were for it all got up and said, this is why you've got to do it. You know, my kid's a ballerina. My son plays in the orchestra. We need this. And then they talked for like an hour and a half. And then they said, well, is there anybody opposed? And there were 10 of us. And I remember walking in that night out of my car. I ran into a couple of my neighbors from Glendale, and they looked at me like this and they said, you're not going to be against this, are you? And we went in, and this just gives you an idea of the kinds of things you can do when you want to win at something you're working on. So we'd heard all their stories about being ballerinas and clarinet players and everything. And so what we decided to do, or a group of us, we threw at them a, let me see if I can. We decided to do was we threw at them financial information. We got up with big graphs. The commissioners were sitting up there. There were the 600 ballerinas out in the audience. And we threw up all these charts and stuff. And I got to tell you, the air just got sucked all the way out of the room. The end choir didn't have any idea what was going on. They were clueless. The commissioners were like, and from that minute, the whole thing just changed. It just totally changed. Before we knew it, within a week, the commissioners were willing to pull Music Hall out of the program, and lo and behold, $130 million in tax got saved that night. So sometimes you got to do kind of crazy things to win at what you want to do. You got to do different things. You got to step out of the box. One of the classes I've had the most fun teaching is the class on Saul Alinsky, which is the kinds of things we sometimes have to do to win. I also tried an idea called We Demand a Balanced Budget, where I tried to bring some sanity to the amount of money we were spending. What I learned from this is that sometimes even the good ideas, you just lose because the public just likes to spend money. It was just a loss. So what I've learned over time is that if you have a good issue, you can win. Critical race theory, you heard the young man talk about it. It's a good issue. When you have a good message, you win. My message isn't going to be as good as his. He's got the message. When you work hard and you have a good issue and a good message, it brings people and volunteers. How many crazy people would be willing for 2 hours to stand out in the pouring rain Tuesday morning? Not very many. And sometimes these issues, they take some time to kind of sort their way out. So I know you want to hear about critical race theory, but what I have to kind of do to get you ready to understand what's going on is I want to talk to you about it a little bit in a history context to let you know what I think's going on. You can decide if you think that I'm right or not. I was a slow learner in history and the founding of our country. I really was. I was dumb. I guess I wasn't a good high school student. I had this friend, Bob Galbraith. I don't know if Jenny knows him, but he was on our board early on for EmpowerU. And he was just one of these guys who knew everything. He taught me a lot about the founding of the country. He went around to a lot of liberty groups. He taught all over. He was in the 912 Club. He was in so many groups, Sheriff. I don't know if you ever met him. He was great. He's down in Florida now, living life. I saw him this summer, but he taught me a lot out of the book, The 5,000-Year Leap. And, but I was a slow learner. So you've got time if you don't know all the things about the founding, but I want to take you back to the founding of our country a little bit. And I want to take you back to the Declaration of Independence. And yeah, it's right here. And I just kind of want to set you up for this. So let me see if I can point. So the Declaration of Independence, July 4th, 1776, by 13 colonies, it's kind of the glue that holds us all together. It holds these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their creator with certain unalienable rights. So what do I mean by unalienable rights? What I want to say is, I'm sorry, your two names? Your name again?
Melody.
Melody?
Mhm.
Okay, so Melody and I, we're the same. God came down. He gave us the same rights, and those rights are that we're both equal. Okay, we're both equal. There's no difference between us. And that's a message that's just gotten taken away from us. And so Jefferson also wrote about something called the freedom of the mind, or in Ohio, they call it the right of conscience. And what that does is, that's your right, that's your ability to think on your own, to have your mind, to not have anybody indoctrinate you or tell you what you should think because they're wiser than you. It's such a critical thing. And that's another one of these things about critical race theory that just really strikes me wrong, because you've got these people indoctrinating kids that aren't really ready to think fully on their own because they're being indoctrinated. And Jefferson, what he wrote was, the words are self-evident. He was helped by people like Thomas Paine. He was helped by John Locke, who is the guy who created the yellow flag that said, "Don't tread on me." And then 11 years later, the Constitution was formed. The Constitution, it's over here. It's really not as important as the Declaration. It just kind of sets the rules. It says, this is what you can do. These are what the states can do. These are the rules of federalism. But it doesn't really talk about rights. So progressives, they see the world a little differently. And they see government not as a guarantor of individual rights and equality, but as an overall cure-all to change the hearts and minds of men. A lot of progressives oppose the Constitution and the Declaration as not being good enough. You'll see that former President Barack Obama, he's explained, hey, the founders, they left us the keys to the system of self-government, the tools to do big things and important things. And anything that government can do, it has justification to do, even if it infringes on your rights. And as you see what's going on in the United States, like when you look at the TV and you look at this immigration issue that's happening, really everything that connects us together as Americans is being torn apart. And the progressives are just wearing us all out. So yeah, thank you. Let's give it up. So this is a little bit from a class I did a year or so ago, not a lot, from Ben Shapiro. And what he says is, and this is going to be your kind of playbook. I'm going to give you one of these when you leave tonight, because when critical race theory is over and we win, they're just going to go on to the next issue. So what Ben Shapiro says is, the first step in destroying America is convincing citizens that some people have to sacrifice their rights in order for others to have new ones. And I think you see that happening. Some people will have to sacrifice America's philosophy of rights in order for others to have new ones. The next thing Shapiro talks about is the American culture. And I never really knew how important culture was until COVID hit, you know? All of a sudden you can't go to church. I ran into my pastor yesterday at Panera. He said, you know, I haven't seen you for a while. Well, I've been watching you online, trying to, but you don't watch as often, you know? It's not the same. You've had all these cultural things that we're used to, the social fabric of our country, groups like this, all of a sudden you can't meet. You can't go and you can't play bridge. You can't go to the women's club. Like my wife is in the women's club in Glendale. I think they met one time in like 6 or 7 months. And when you take this all together, all of a sudden the fabric that ties this all together is gone. There was a guy by the name of, he's got a fun name, Alex de Coqueville. And what he says is, and it's so true when you think about it, social fabric, churches, hospitals, prisons, schools, civic life is to be provided by social institutions, not government. But without this social fabric, our nation will devolve into tyranny because we'll be all by our own, all on our own, and only government over us. And if you look at the culture of rights, it's under attack. Progressives, rights to health care, rights to same-sex marriage, rights to housing, rights to education, rights for men to play in women's sports. Progressives understand once you redefine rights, to mean anything, you can make it mean anything you want. I've got a clip by an incredible speaker the other night I'm going to play for you in a minute just about that very thing. But, you know, we're losing our free speech culture and rights. We're losing our ability to speak freely. If I want to get on the radio and talk about critical race theory, I have to wonder about if somebody's coming to my house. Sometimes different people I see, I have to frame things differently with them. I don't want to, but cancel culture is eroding our free speech. People wonder what they can say. Too many Americans, surprisingly, some Americans want less speech than more. Millennials, we're doing a class on millennials later this semester. We've wanted to do one for so long. It's going to be great. I hope you can join us for that one. But 59% of people ages 18 to 34 say the First Amendment should be updated to stop hate speech and reflect the cultural norms of today. Now, is that what the founding fathers planned when they drew up the Declaration of Independence? Yes. Anything you don't like is hate speech. So there's this crazy National Archives story. I don't know if you guys saw it come out last week, where the National Archives have now put a warning on their website that shows those two documents. And what it says is, some materials here reflect outdated, biased, offensive, and possible violent views and opinions. This is your government. And what they're trying to do is they're trying to shape the culture that ties us all together, that helps us all. So what about this word equity? This word equity has really taken over really our whole world, right? You see it everywhere. You see it in government, schools, universities, religion. And basically what it says is different treatment is okay it's okay if it means violating the rights of others. You can treat people differently. So if I had two examples tonight, refresh my memory. Your first name?
Mary Jane.
Mary Jane. And we've got Mel over here, who was our big winner. So we've got Mary Jane and Mel. So let's say they're students in the class, okay? And now I'm just trying to think which of the two is going to be smarter. I'm going to say you're probably the smart one, right, Mary Jane? And then Mel, maybe you're just a little average or a little below, you know, just a little bit below. So the goal of equity is to let you just kind of stay where you're at, because we're not going to give you anything extra. But what we've got to do is bring him up so that he's at least equal to where you are. And it's okay if you just stay the same. We don't need AP classes. We don't need what's called IB classes, because we just need this equity where everybody's kind of the same. And I've got some yard signs that I forgot to put out tonight that say a great subject. If you want one, you can grab it when you leave. It says, Equity is not equality. And equality is what we were given by God and nature. We were all created equal so that Mary Jane, so that Mary Jane, if she wants to be the rocket scientist, you could be, right?
Oh, absolutely.
She can rise to the top. And maybe Mel is just a little bit, yeah, but he could be the next, how far did Bill Gates get in school? He didn't even go to college, right? So anybody can be anything. And to think that government's hand could make you equal to you when they can't even fix unemployment fraud in Ohio, how in the world could that ever happen? It's a folly. And this equity, as I'm finding out, and I've had people help me, I won't name them, it's a fuzzy word. It's an evolving word. I'm not sure people even know what the word means. I think maybe that's the plan, that the word is just, it can be whatever you want, whenever you want it. You can say it, and you'll just say, well, I want equity. But progressives, when they talk about discrimination, they always choose equity because of this issue where you've got white privilege or institutional racism. So this is a guy who spoke at our event the other night. His name's C.L. Bryan. He's a pastor from Florida, a Baptist pastor, a minister. He came in as part of Freedom Works school initiative, and he talked about this issue of words, how they're starting not to mean anything. Jay, could you play that? No, it's on the next slide.
My friends, to understand that there is a definitional change that is occurring in America today. And I want you to know that when you
Should be
change
just down at
the
the bottom, Jay.
definitions,
Play
you
button.
change the destination. When you change the definitions, you change the destination. The definition of gender has been changed. And so the destination of where our children are learning about who they are is changing. We are becoming a nation of milquetoast citizens. We are becoming a nation of milquetoast citizens. My friends,
He had a lot more to say that was really, really interesting. But yeah, these words, they do matter, don't they? Jay, could you advance the next slide for me, please? I don't know if we're stuck on that one or not. Sorry about that, guys. Yeah,
He's here 1 year with Glenn Beck.
I think he was with Glenn Beck, yeah.
Yeah, down
Mhm.
at the-
Yeah. Can we get to the next? We'll have to listen to it again. That's well, go ahead. Can we skip it, Jay? Okay. I'll keep talking. Maybe we can catch up. So, the great Thomas Sowell, does everybody know who he is? 92 years old. He talks about equity. Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah. Sorry about that, guys. Maybe you can just stop it and restart it, Jay, past that slide if you can. Thanks. So Thomas Sowell, the great Thomas Sowell, 92 years old, he talks about outcomes and equity. And what he says is, as a teenager, I tried briefly to play basketball, but I was lucky to hit the backboard, much less the basket. He said, I had as much opportunity to play basketball as Michael Jordan had, but equal opportunity was not nearly enough to create equal outcomes. Yeah, there you go. Thanks. And the conclusion, you know, our culture surrounds us. It unites us. It recognizes that we have a social fabric and we must be willing to jump to the defense of our own rights lest we lose them. Progressives, on the other hand, believe that culture can be torn down by government because they know that unites us. Karl Marx said he recognized the church and family represented obstacles to society and reordering. Marx, the main solution to all problems is government itself. We're doing a class on Mark Levin's book, American Marxism, on October 28th. I hope you can join us for that. So what happens when a culture gets torn down? All of a sudden, you don't trust people, you don't trust the media, you don't trust your neighbors, you don't trust your co-employees. You see the immigration stuff, it makes you feel crazy. And there's a militancy across the population. Ben Shapiro, who I stole this from, he said, when the institutions that brought us all together collapse, there's nothing that unifies us. And he's right. And he says the second step in our country being destroyed is when we lose our culture in favor of rights of a culture of government. The last thing I'll just talk about before I get into what I know you want to talk about is American history, because you hear so much about it in critical race theory that our history is so bad. I'll just talk about this for a minute. And you know, there's this whole discussion about American history, whether it's good or bad, and was America a great country? Well, when Lincoln signed the Declaration, 41 of 56 signers of this document right here had slaves. And Lincoln said, we can't be a house divided. 600,000 people died. Lincoln said, the Declaration has not been completely performed until slavery is ended. And then the Emancipation Proclamation was signed, which freed slaves. In 1866, the House of Representatives passed the 14th Amendment. And that granted citizenship to slaves. The 15th Amendment was passed, guaranteeing blacks the right to vote. Slavery ended. I want you to take note. This is a record of progress, I think. A progress in our country. A progress that kept on until the 1900s. Whenever I hear people talk about America's not a great country, and it's got so many problems, it takes me to this map right over here. This is the most incredible map in the world if you look at it, 1942. This is what the world looked like. Everything that was blue was Nazi contained. The only thing that the Nazis didn't have was Spain and Portugal, some parts of Northern Africa, Ireland, and the UK. If this great country, the United States, hadn't made the decision to come over and save the world, could you imagine what the world would look like today? How could anybody say that's not a great country? You would have to be just crazy. I mean, and then we enter the 60s. We have all sorts of great things happen. The Civil Rights Act of 1964 that basically stops discrimination on the basis of race, color, religion, sex, or national origin. And these crazy people that want to be involved in CRT, just like Hawk talked about, they want to get rid of Martin Luther King. They want to say, Martin Luther King, everything that we've heard from you for the last 40, 50 years, it's all irrelevant. You're dumb. We want to go back to segregation. We want to be able to discriminate and treat people differently. Martin Luther King said, you judge a person by the content of their character, not by the color of their skin. And he said, when the architects of our republic wrote the magnificent words of the Constitution, it was like they were signing a promissory note to which every American was to fall heir. The history of America isn't totally good or bad, but America is one of the great stories of our time. I mean, you have people like Howard Zinn up here, which is a popular college read. And then you've got the people like Nicole Hannah-Jones who wrote the 1619 Project. And they believe that America is a terrible country. You've got people like Barack Obama who say all good in America is grown from poisonous seeds. America can only move beyond history through fundamentally transforming the United States of America. You've got people like Joe Biden that says America was an idea that the country has never lived up to. Is it hard to understand when people are saying this on one side, why some of these things are happening? Step 3 in destroying America is convincing citizens that America's history is poisonous, that it's terrible, that it's not redeemable, that it wasn't great. So a series of events took me to the issue of critical race theory, and it all kind of convoluted on me. And as I printed off things today, I've been working on this for months, and just some things have started to come together in my own mind. So 3 things happened in July of 2020. This is during COVID, July, a little over a year ago. 3 things happened to me. So I take all this so seriously because I've probably taught 40 classes at EmpowerU on the founding of the country. I know it well. But a year ago on July 13th in the village of Glendale where I live, there was a Black council person who during COVID decided she was going to have a racial commission to look at racism in the village of Glendale. She invited 32 of her friends, all chosen by her. No people from the public were allowed to come to it. She wrote a report with the conclusion that there was implicit racial bias in our cool little great community. Worse than that, it wasn't just that we were all implicit bias, that we were bigots, that we lacked transparency, that there were subtle differences in the treatment between Black and white residents. She wrote this conclusion, and we've got this woke mayor in Glendale. Sorry, I don't know what else I can say about him. He emailed those findings out to 2,000 people in the village I live in, and we were all told we were racists. Within about 3 days of that happening, Hamilton County, Ohio, how many of you live in Hamilton County, passed a resolution called that racism is a public health care crisis. When I read this resolution, it's so gummed up with words, I can't even understand what it means. It's gobbledygook crap. It doesn't mean anything. I called the administrator of Hamilton County in July and I said, would one of your commissioners come out to EmpowerU to tell me what this means? And he said, well, I'm gonna have to think about that. Within a few days after that, the Ohio School Board passes Resolution 20. This all happened within 7 calendar days, like it was planned, because it was planned. I don't know by who exactly, but they passed something called, a young lady from Lorraine keyed me off to this. I had no idea it had happened. It's called the Resolution to Advance Equity and Opportunity for Black Students, Indigenous students, and students of color. And as I read through this, after this person had called me, I read the resolution and it stunk to high heavens. It smelled. I could tell it was indoctrination. It was the start of racial bias, telling each one of us that we had to examine our bias because surely we all had it. And that, we all needed to be trained. And all of a sudden I thought I was in the middle of, I thought I was in the middle of I was kind of in a collision. I had this thing in Glendale. I knew EmpowerU about the history. I started to hear about this Ohio School Board, and it all led to critical race theory. AJ, I don't know if you can help me. I don't know if we're frozen up again, but I can't click. So I started digging deep into the Ohio Board of Education. One of the first things I ran into was a tab called the 1619 Project. It's been disavowed everywhere by everybody as not being factual. So I got a hold of the president of the school board, a lady by the name of Laura Kohler, and I said to her, you got to take this off the website. It's not accurate. You can't expose this to 607 schools in Ohio. First thing she told me was, oh, I'm sorry, I don't know how it got up there. So I said, well, good, just take it down. And she said, no, I'm not going to take it down. So I spoke to a lawyer friend of mine. His name's Kurt Hartman. He's a great guy. And he said, let's file suit against them. We did. And we didn't file suit until I told Laura that I wanted to speak to the board. I wanted to come in and talk to him about race. And she said, well, Mr. Reginald, I'm sorry, but I can't allow you to come in and talk about race because we don't allow anybody in Ohio to come into our school board and talk about race. It's the one topic we don't allow anybody to talk about. Could you believe anybody could say that? So Kurt and I, we filed a lawsuit. And the reason we did that was because it just became apparent to me that this board was woke, that they were just in so deep with all the kinds of things Hawk talked about. One of the school board members said, I don't want anybody to come in and talk about race because the school board is my safe space. And so my goal began to, I felt like I needed to make parents aware of what's going on in the state. Parents don't really understand this at the level. And so we filed the suit and also sent Mike DeWine a letter because I wanted him to know his school board was messed up, that it had been taken over. And I sent him that letter 6 months ago and I still haven't heard from him. My mom, when she was raising me, she taught me something. I don't know if any of your mothers or fathers taught you the same thing, that when you write somebody a letter, thank you, that what should you do? Somebody should answer you, right? You know, I mentioned that to one of his aides in passing, and his aide said, well, you have to understand we've received 1 million emails in the last year. You can't expect anybody to answer a letter you've written. Yeah, okay. So that's kind of their mentality. So what is critical race theory? It holds that law and legal institutions in the United States are inherently racist, and they function to create and maintain social, economic, and political inequalities between whites and non-whites, especially African Americans. Since the lawsuit, there are 49 groups in Ohio that have joined a coalition called StopCriticalRaceTheory.com in an effort to stop critical race theory in Ohio. The message is that we want to stop critical race theory in Ohio's schools, universities, and governments to protect our children, the victims. We're going to do this by working with the legislature. So everybody asks me the same question: do you have any real examples of critical race theory? And everybody says, you know, every superintendent you talk to says, it's not happening in my area. It's the standard line. It's not happening. I've got more examples than I could shake a stick at to you tonight. I'm not going to show the video because we had problems with video, and but I've got some great examples in Forest Hills where you've probably read about what's going on there. They've got a little consultant that came in from Hamilton County ESC. Sorry, Melanie, and she wrote a little plan, and she wrote all their teachers and told their teachers, look out for all those white supremacists. You've got a woman up in Northern Ohio right here. She's up in Beechwood, Ohio, and she came in because her kid came home and said every day, Mom, the only thing we talk about all day at school is race. Why do I have to hear that, Mom? We've got a district, Olentangy School District, which is the 6th largest in Ohio with 22,000 students. They now have 4 diversity and equity and inclusion teachers there. And they decided to bring in a trainer for their 22,000 students. This is him right here. His name is Hassan Kwame Jeffries. This is a tweet he put out. The GOP is the party of white supremacy, and Senator Tim Scott is blackface. Now, how would you like that person to be teaching your child? You've got a situation. This is her right here. This woman right here. She went around the entire beltway of 275 and wrote equity plans for so many schools. I'm going to tell you what an equity plan is in a minute. Couple more examples. King's School District. This book, How to Be an Anti-Racist by Ibram X. Kendi, was made a must-read at King's. And what this book basically says is that, I'll pick on Mel again, he's safe, that if Mel says he's not a racist, that means he's really a racist, so don't say it. This book was at King's School, and a young Christian girl came home to her mom and said, "Mom, I'm a Christian, why do I need to read this?" This is a guy right here, Dan Egan, who's a school board member at King's, who for 25 minutes talked in an open meeting and said the biggest single mistake I made was allowing that book in my school. He said, what's taught in that book is not American. So critical race theory is being manifested in Ohio mostly in racist equity plans. So what does an equity plan look like? What it looks like is this. This is an example. It's 16 pages. It's written by something called the Hamilton County ESC, which is called an Educational Service Center. And it's right here, 11083 Hamilton Avenue, Cincinnati, Ohio. These people who are at the ESCs mostly are consultants that used to teach. They go out to the schools and help them where they need help. Well, this one woman went around to every school and she wrote a plan just like this. And if you drill down into this plan, it talks about removing books based on race. It talks about equaling certain segments of different color people. It talks about all sorts of things that just have no business being in writing. I've circled probably 100 things. By the end of 2022 school year, the diversity of each job classification throughout the district will more closely reflect the diversity of our student population. I mean, this is heavy duty stuff. And what's happened is this 16 pages, I'm pretty much going to tell you your school district has one, ask for it. It's monopolizing the management of the school's time. I don't know how they could worry about reading, writing, arithmetic, and science when they've got this super detailed program of what they've got to do to get equity, which probably will never happen. So, you know, talking about our schools, Bill McGurn from the Wall Street Journal last week has a stunning admission when he talks about of the 27 largest urban districts, the best one for math and reading for 8th graders is the city of Charlotte, where 24% of its 8th graders are proficient in math. In Detroit, 4% for math, 5% for reading. Now, do these school administrators have any business at all spending their day working on an equity plan with results like that? It's terrible. Equity plans have caused school management to take their eye off the ball. They're wasting time. So if you hear these words, listen up. If you hear your kids having a seminar, if you hear your grandkids having a seminar, if you hear a consultant, if you hear the word ESC, if you hear BIPOC, Ibram X. Kendi, the 1619 Project, Equity, NEA, National Education Association, my message is to beware. There are 2 bills in front of Ohio right now, 327 and 322. We tend to like this one better because it applies to universities, states, and city governments also. Many people think critical race theory, it's all coming from the colleges because the students are learning it. So this, I know I've had you a long time here, but this is something I need you to understand what the legislation says. The legislation is simple. It just says there's no race or sex that's superior to the other. No race or sex is superior. We're all the same, which is what this says right over here, right? And it says that no individual's moral standing is determined by their race or sex, and that an individual can't be discriminated against. There are 7 states that have banned critical race theory. 10 states are considering it. Ohio is one of them. The big narrative from progressives about this legislation is what they say, and what they're going to say to you if you ever talk to them about this. They're going to say, what are you scared of? What are you scared that our kids might learn? And that's not the message of the legislation. The message is that history can be taught about everything as long as it's objective, and that no one race is superior to the other. It's important that you remember that. We've had a few wins. They haven't all been good. I think we were partially responsible for the state school board superintendent resigning. And it's a great thing. He's a wokester to the highest degree. And they appointed an assistant superintendent, and he quit the week after. So you can tell what kind of an operation it is. It's messed up. I'd like to just have the building go away. I don't think it's needed. A couple other things. Dave Yost was asked to give an opinion on critical race theory in Ohio. I give him a lot of credit. Some people have said this doesn't say very much. I think it says ton. Let's start with the bottom. Yost says, there's a prohibition on racial discrimination. It's a commandment to be followed, not an inconvenience to be evaded. In the eyes of the government, we are just one race here. We are American. Thank you for that. Jenny Kilgore, my neighbor in Glendale, I don't know if anybody saw this on Facebook yesterday. She was able to put a resolution in front of the Board of Education to allow public participation starting next month to be on any subject. So what I sued them over is now gone. I'm calling it a win. There will probably be 20 people next month at the school board meeting talking about critical race theory, which is a great thing. Oh no. Let's see here. We're almost done. You've got people like Dennis Prager speaking out. Dennis Prager's message is super simple. Take your kids out of public school. It's a money thing. You know, it's a money thing. If we can convince parents that until they stop teaching this crap to our kids, that if 10 of them do, that's like $100,000 out of the school district. Jay, why don't you go ahead and restart that if you can? Okay, thanks. Sorry about the bad stuff. Also, people are homeschooling their kids. A lot of people are homeschooling their kids. We have a class, an EmpowerU class on October 30th. It's a Saturday morning for 2 hours. If you know anybody that's tired of school systems and wants to homeschool their kids, have them come. We've got just a great teacher. One piece of bad news. I don't know if Sheriff has heard this. I was up in Lorraine last week. Jim Jordan came out at a big meeting last week and said critical race theory doesn't exist in Ohio. And he needs to, my message is, they didn't like me saying this because they're big fans of his up in Lorraine. I'm a big fan of his, but I need to tell him he needs to get off Fox News a little bit and get back to Ohio and find out what the heck's going on, because he is off track. Warren Davidson knows. So that's my message there. So critical race it intersects three evil things: philosophy, culture, and history. I just urge you to get involved, and specifically to call your legislators and tell them to pass the legislation against critical race theory. You can try DeWine Husted. I will tell you, John Husted's been very responsive to our group. Talk about the victims when you write them, and talk about the kids. Resources. I've got 4 or 5 very important resources back there if you're interested in reading about what's going on with critical race theory. I've got a copy of the playbook for you to take right here. I'll get this back in the back, because this is exactly when critical race theory goes away. The same 3 things will be used to make you crazy about something else. So you should understand what's going on. I just want to remind you, whether it's critical race theory or anything, when facts speak to you, like I had that convergence of facts with Glendale and Hamilton County and the Ohio board, I urge you, when you get that sense in your mind, I urge you to do something about it. I urge you to get active. I think you'll be amazed how many people will help you, how many people will step up, how many people will partner with you to make things better. We may not always win. We may have to take partial wins at a time, but this group can accomplish so much. You can see that it's a very organized group of people. For them, I didn't know this till today. It wasn't until I printed out 3 things. This happened within 3 of these happened within 7 days. Somebody is working pretty hard. I don't know if anybody has an idea they want to throw out, but I just want to know you can win. Just like my swarm of bees, go after them and forget the playbook. And I want you to go out and empower you. Any questions about anything that I've gone over with you tonight? Any thoughts? Yeah, right.
So I was just looking at my emails. I retired in July, but I get a lot of emails from
What school district were you in? Finneytown. She's totally, I've got to give her a lot of credit.
making a lot of money.
She covered it. She doesn't work there anymore. Oh, the one thing I meant to tell you about this equity plan, I'm not going to divulge who the school system is. A few of you know. But I met with the superintendent and I just, out of curiosity, I said, how much did you pay for that equity plan? What did it cost? This 16 pages of gobbledygook that I'm not even sure you'd even understand. And he said, well, we're going to have a really good football team this year. Then I met with a board member and I said, how much did this plan cost? And he said to me, don't pay attention to this equity plan. He said, it's just affirmative action. It's just the affirmative action of 30 years ago. It doesn't mean anything. And then I sent Melody's organization, Hamilton County ESC, a public information request. And I said, how much did this school board pay for this plan? And they said, sorry, you've asked for too much information. We're not going to tell you. Now, these are the people that are controlling the kids. Todd Hester, I think is his name. Greg Hester. Just terrible, terrible stuff. Any other questions about anything? You want to get the microphone? Let's get the microphone. Would you talk in the microphone, please?
I'm just saying that, is it on? I don't know. Okay. Well, I'm just saying that as long as you've got a diversity department, which they have in most of these schools, you've got CRT. I mean, it's a given. It's a given. And they're making six-figure salaries. We just need to get on that and get rid of it.
Yeah, and I think the biggest areas where we've had wins have been areas where the parents have really risen, like Lakota. And maybe there aren't huge wins to show, but surely when there's a bunch of parents walking in a school board meeting time after time after time, it slows down. In Anderson, Forest Hills, they've had 80, 90, 100 parents at a time go to meetings. And I think they've made some progress. So the biggest thing we can do, other than know it's happening, is gang together as parents and go to meetings and raise heck. Questions right here. Hey, Betty. Betty, could you get this gentleman right here for me? Thanks.
Yeah.
No, okay. All right. Okay. Listen, I wanted to ask you, when you're talking about, and I just found out about your organization, you're 11 years old and so forth. I want to know, when you're trying to empower people, have you ever taught people about the precinct system, where you run for your local precinct, go to the county meeting next June, it'll happen in Ohio. And if they're not doing their job, oust them. In other words, one lady at a meeting I was at about a week ago stood up and almost tearfully said, I think I'm event hopping. I'm going from event to event, but it doesn't seem like we're getting anywhere. That's because we're begging, I guess it's a statement and a question. We're begging these people to do something right. We're so, please uphold the Constitution. When you get in the precinct system, and I'm sure you know what that is.
I do.
You go to the meeting next June in every county in Ohio and try to oust those party leaders.
Yeah, we've had several people come in and talk to us about how to advance in the precinct system and go forward, but your point's a good one. Thank you for making it. Yeah, we've got a question in the back, Jay.
Testing. We have a question online. Actually, a couple of them. First one, DeWine, the State Board of Ed, Ohio Department of Ed, all felt the need to use the Floyd effect to make a statement on race and make race an obsession. They promote CRT to the districts. We're told by local school administration boards that they're not teaching CRT, but only teaching state standards. But it seems the teachers all have access to Ohio Department of Education resources that use CRT, which is not vetted in any meaningful way by the state. In other words, it's not true. So there are rogue teachers and they're getting it into the lessons, and this only the students can stand up to this, and we need watchdogs. How can we encourage, I guess the question is, how can we encourage our kids to be alert and tell us when they're hearing this stuff?
Well, one quick way is for the kids to do this, the kids to film them.
Yeah.
Some people want cameras to be put in the classrooms. The Heritage Foundation, which is going to be in here on October 5th to talk about critical race theory more from a historical perspective, a little different than me. The Heritage Foundation says that's not a good plan. But the reason the legislation is so important, I think, the 327 is it puts a guardrail. It says if any teacher is found to have taught it, that nobody will be given credit for that class. So there are some stringent, penalties for doing it.
Okay, Dan, another person online this came in at 8:24, said, could you repeat the three things you referred to? Do you remember what that was?
I don't know if it's the three parts of the playbook that, you're getting people to sacrifice their existing rights, that our culture is being taken away from us, and that we're being told that America represents the fruit of a
Okay,
poisonous tree.
somebody else requested you might want to put that online so they can look
Yeah.
at it.
We'll do it. It'll be on right underneath the class. And by the way, you can watch the class tomorrow online if you need to. Yeah.
Oh, I
This
just was
one.
curious, what
You
was
watch the
the
recording.
reason for saying they didn't want the cameras in there? You said it was heritage?
I don't know why they don't want the cameras in there. I guess they just think it's just a little too much, but that's one of the first question I'll ask them on October 5th when they're here.
When you mentioned that, I was just wondering, like daycare centers, they have cameras that you can watch your kids throughout the day.
Doggy day,
So would
yeah.
I mean, it would be interesting to have cameras where the parents can log on and watch the classroom. Like,
Yeah,
why
I think one of the things they're worried about is you'll get parents that'll sit around for 8 hours and watch watch online, and maybe it should just be used as an enforcement mechanism that if somebody complains, you can go back and watch it at that point. I don't know. I'll be interested to ask them that exact question. Thank you, Julie. Right back here in the back.
Dan, this is Jude. If you went to the protest, I understand the Board of Education was meeting at that time. Did you ask to address them? And if so, why? If you didn't, why not?
I've kind of been, when I filed the lawsuit, that kind of ship has already sailed. So I wasn't able to address them, but if I'm able to, I will be there in October because I got a few things on my mind I want to share with them. Any other questions, Mr. Bowman?
Do you know the date in
It's usually,
October?
it'll probably be the third Tuesday, third Monday and Tuesday. Yes, right here.
Yes, are the unions involved in this? Are they asking their teachers to teach CRT?
Well, they came out and said they were, but they said they came out and they said we back CRT, but then they pulled that back and said no. So one interesting thing, I'm running late, and Mr. Janice doesn't like me to, but I'm going to be done in about a minute or two. I had a video I wanted to show you at the end, but I don't think I'm going to be able to show it to you. I'll show it to you later. I'll show it to you Tuesday night. That'll make you all log in. It's going to be great. I lost my train of thought. So I've got a woman who's coming in here to EmpowerU. I think she's coming October 14th. She only does one thing in life. She sits in her apartment in Over the Rhine. She has 3 runners. These runners all day long go around and try to get union teachers to not be union members. And the idea is the same, just cut off the money. Cut off the money. And so she gets wind of somebody, she sends a runner out there, and if they withdraw their membership, the teacher saves $600 or $700 a year. But then they get they get retaliated against. Yeah. I'm sorry, right? Here's a question right over here. Did you have a question, Leanne? Oh, I'm sorry. I missed you. Anybody else? Right here.
Was just mentioning the fact that they changed the language, and I think maybe you may have said that, but you know, lots of times we heard that CRT means culturally responsive teaching, but also they changed the language on everything. I mean, you know, they're doing that.
It's
constantly.
evolving so fast we can barely keep up with what the next word is going to be. I will tell you one other good news thing that I didn't share with you. It's this right here that Ruth Edmonds is going to talk to you about Tuesday. It's called the Backpack Bill. And what this does is it says any kid can take their money anywhere they want to. If that happens, these things we're talking about, yeah, if that happens, and if you can take the 10,000 wherever you want to take it, believe me, the schools will change. It's so needed. But the question is, can we get it through the swamp? Can we get through the swamp? It's deep and it's dark. Any last points? Anybody? Well, here's one last question and then we're done.
Well, it was actually maybe three things.
Okay.
When you talked about the group of three in Columbus that were, didn't they throw your Tuesday speaker out of the health committee yesterday? Yeah. And that's why I hope she'll come clean with us on Tuesday because you know, she's been thrown off her health committee because there's a wild story about what the Chamber of Commerce did. And I don't want to tell it because I might tell it wrong. I hope she'll tell it. But yeah, she got kicked off her committee just because she had something she was passionate about. Go ahead too. You talked about something in July where the school board came out with something. Didn't they do that in the dark of night? I think your slide said 11 p.m. But
it
I
was
heard
at 11.
a lot of stuff.
11 p.m. they did it, but and the way the school board works, there's 11 elected people and 8 people appointed by Kasich and DeWine. Now, I will tell you, the votes have started. DeWine started to tell people how to vote, and the votes have finally started to shift a little bit. DeWine says he's against CRT, but all my buddies who were there Tuesday all think he's a liar. I'm sorry, I hate to say that. They all don't think he'll do anything. You know, the bill will get to his desk and he'll say, well, you know, I'm just for equity like everybody else. Gobbledygook. Go ahead. And then it might have been simultaneous. DeWine also in July put a whole bunch of people on the board and they all voted for that new. Yeah. Am I hearing that correctly? Some of them are his. About half of them are his. About half of them are from Kasich. And that will evolve. I think that will get better. There was a 6th board member put on recently, and he is conservative, and it is changing. There are 6 conservatives. I thought he increased the number. I thought this was all new people. No, there are 6 conservatives that are trying to do the right thing. One of them, Brendan Shea, is going to be here on, Betty, do you know what night he's going to be here? On September 30th. So that's a week from tonight. Brendan Shea, state school board member, will be here as part of our systemic woke thuggery class, which is what's happening. So other than that, I really appreciate you guys coming tonight. Have a great night. Sorry about the little PowerPoint problems we had. Have a great night. Grab some information on your way out. Online, everybody, thank you for coming. Appreciate it. Yeah.